In case you haven't already seen it, I have made a video about Descendants, The Rise of Red. My thoughts on that movie were, I watched Descendants movies for the so bad it's good, guilty pleasure madness of it all. And that's what I got out of Descendants, The Rise of Red. If that's also why you enjoy the Descendants movies, I would recommend watching Descendants, The Rise of Red, and then watching my video about it. After that video, I decided to go back to the original, which is why we're here today. I did talk a little bit about my thoughts on the original trilogy in my Rise of Red video, but I didn't talk about those movies in a very in-depth way. I think that the Descendants movies are very comparable to the Star Wars prequel trilogy because there's so many concepts that could have been executed in a more interesting way, and it's not like it's dull to watch because there's so much goofiness and there's just enough legitimately good things. That's why people still talk about the Star Wars prequel trilogy so many years later. Just in case you don't know much about the Descendants movies, it's about the children of alternate versions of Disney characters, and the plot of the first movie is 4 teenagers from the Isle of the Lost, which is where they sent all the villains, get invited to Oradon Prep, which is a school for good children, and goofiness happens.
It's far too young to be crowned king. I didn't make a good decision till I was at least 42.
I'm a lot younger than 42. That explains a lot.
I've decided that the children on the Isle of the Lost be given a chance to live here in Oradon.
I gave you a second chance.
It is a little bit ironic that they chose the Beast to be the king who banished all the villains when he's the one who benefited from the concept of a second chance. I think it would have made a lot more sense if they chose Philip and Aurora from Sleeping Beauty to fill this role, with Ben being their son. Because first of all, the characters in that movie stay what they are the whole way through, so it makes more sense for someone from that movie to take more convincing to give people a second chance. And two, Ben ends up having a romantic relationship with Mal, so that would have had this child of Sleeping Beauty and Maleficent getting together, which could have created more friction. They do kind of use that stuff I just brought up for Audrey's character, who actually is the daughter of Sleeping Beauty and Philip. But in the first movie, it doesn't really matter as much, because every aspect of the rivalry between Mal and Audrey could have happened even if she wasn't Sleeping Beauty's daughter. Audrey wasn't even in the second movie, and yes, you can say that they utilized her being Sleeping Beauty's daughter more in Descendants 3, but she still wasn't that compelling of a character anyway. And they still could have had Ben be Philip and Aurora's son, and still have Audrey come from a family that has beef with Mal's family, if she was descended from one of the fairies or something. And at the beginning, Audrey and Ben are dating, and that's sort of seen as the expected go-to relationship perfect fit thing, and that would have been even more of an obvious perfect fit thing if she had been a daughter of one of the 3 good fairies, because their parents were from the same movie.
Well, we started out with a few at first. I've already chosen them.
Who were their parents?
Cruella de Vil, Jafar, Evil Queen, and Maleficent.
Maleficent! She is the worst villain in the land!
Wouldn't that reaction have made a lot more sense coming from Philip? One of my favorite things about Descendants is that no one acts like a human being, and I love it. And that's also my thoughts on Hocus Pocus, which is directed by the same guy, Kenny Ortega. Hocus Pocus did a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't see on Disney Channel nowadays.
My ungodly book speaks to you. On All Hallows Eve, when the moon is around, a virgin will summon us from under the ground.
So I shall enact for you how this scene would have happened if Kenny Ortega had made it back in the day. Dad, I have selected 4 children from the Isle of the Lost to come to Oradon Prep. Are these 4 children virgins? Something that's so frustrating about the main 4 characters is that Carlos and Jay clearly have better dancing and parkour skills, and yet Mal and Evie are the ones with all the attention. If you really pay attention to the contrast in what they're doing in some of these sequences, you can clearly see that Mal and Evie are doing stuff that anybody could do, while Carlos and Jay do stuff that's actually impressive.
I'm just trying to teach you the thing that really counts. How to be me.
Well, still a better Maleficent than Angelina Jolie. That was something I forgot to say about the young Maleficent from The Rise of Red. She had barely any lines, like 30 seconds of screen time, and her very short part of a song was a failure, but she still seemed to be having fun playing that role. And her character was still evil, which makes her still a better Maleficent than Angelina Jolie.
I read somewhere that they allow dogs in Oridon.
Oh, then it can't possibly go.
Mom said they're rabid pack animals who eat boys who don't behave.
I thought that Carlos's mom was supposed to tell him a bunch of lies.
What's in it for us?
Matching thrones, hers and hers crowns.
Hers and hers crowns. I didn't realize how similar she was to the Queen of Hearts from The Rise of Red. So she wants to have them both be queen. That sounds like incest.
But if someone tries to touch you in a place or in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's no good.
I can't help but wonder if the actors who played the parents were having the time of their lives with this cheesiness, or if they were melting with embarrassment the whole time. I'm inclined to think that it might have been the latter, because none of them ever came back. You fooled me once by telling me I'd be an iconic Disney villain, but you're not gonna get me again.
Hello, Foxy.
Oh, sorry for the confusion. I was talking about the fairy godmother.
My mom's a queen, which makes me a princess. The evil queen has no royal status here, and neither do you.
This is Audrey.
They do have some moments that are legitimately funny for the right reasons. I love how she said that in such a pretend friendly voice.
So, you guys have a lot of magic here at Oridon? Like wands and things like that?
Yeah, it exists, of course. But it's pretty much retired.
That's such a disappointing detail. They put all these characters from all these magical stories into this one place, and they say, by the way, there's barely any magic.
Not like your mom, with her wand. I mean, one swoosh from that thing and you could probably have whatever features you wanted. Doesn't she love you?
It would have been nice if they could have had her use that manipulative skill set in the next two movies for good. That would have been interesting. She could have tricked the bad guys into doing something stupid. Or she could have at least convinced someone selfish to do something heroic under the false pretense of him getting recognized as a hero. I totally forgot that he's Cinderella's son. According to what we see in Descendants, The Rise of Red, he must be adopted.
Boyfriends are overrated. They're a waste of time.
Remember, it makes sense for her to say that at this point in the movie because she's still evil. If a character who is supposed to be good said that, we'd have a problem, but she's still evil. What have you done? You turned her hair brown. Why would you want brown hair if you could have black hair? She truly is evil. Why would you curse someone to have brown hair?
You do not want to be at my house at dinner time.
Yeah, his dad, Jafar, keeps yelling, and whoever his mom is keeps rattling the chains trying to escape.
You know, I thought even villains love their kids.
Well, of course these villain kids are loved by their parents. Cruella told Carlos the truth about dogs. Jafar did not chain up Jay the same way he probably has his wife chained up. And Maleficent wants Mal to be her co-queen. Which is probably incestuous, but we'll say it still counts.
Listen, Audrey.
Bye, Benny Boo.
Bye.
I like how they telegraphed that Ben was probably going to break up with Audrey anyway, right before Mal gives him the love potion. If they hadn't done that, you'd think it would be very odd for him to not be very upset with her later about ruining things with him and Audrey.
I love you, Mal. Did I mention that?
Tad's my boyfriend now.
Good for her for killing two love triangles at once. Most people take 7 years to get rid of one love triangle. So this song's not annoying, right? This is fine. This is fine.
You can't swim?
No.
And you still tried to save me.
Of course she tried to save you. Have you any concept of how unfathomably bad things would get for her if she, a child of a villain, was the last person to see the prince before he died? That doesn't prove that she cares. This song I'll definitely mute for you, because it's not even enjoyably bad.
I want to introduce you to my parents. This is Mal, from the island. My girlfriend.
But is she a virgin, though?
Give Grammy a kiss, dear.
Grammy? Sleeping Beauty's mother?
My daughter. was raised by fairies because of your mother's curse.
Well, to be fair, it's not Maleficent's fault that you didn't just hide Aurora right before her 16th birthday. I'm guessing they had Queen Leia instigate that because they didn't want to stain Aurora's reputation.
All you have to do is sit there and look beautiful.
And you already know how to sit there.
Let's give the anti-love potion a few minutes to take effect.
You knew?
That you spelled me? Your spell washed away in the enchanted lake.
I can explain myself.
No, look, it's fine. I mean, you had a crush on me, I was with Audrey, you didn't trust that it could happen on its own.
Well, they did make sure it makes sense for him to not be upset about losing Audrey, but he should still be pretty upset that she put a love potion spell on him anyway. But other than that, they did a good job of covering for his story about knowing ever since the lake. As soon as he got into the lake, he swam away from her as if he needed some space to think things through, and then she tried to save him, and he ended up saving her, and it seemed like a surprise to him that she would do that. Like, he wasn't 100% sold on her character the way he would be if he was still under the influence of a love potion. And then ever since they went to the lake, he didn't really do anything extreme like that song and dance number on the field. I think if they just had Ben say something like, I get you were raised in a different type of environment, but you're never going to do anything like that ever again, that might have made this pristine. But it's just kind of weird how he brushes off the fact that she did that.
I choose good, you guys.
That would have been hilarious if none of them joined in. Okay, we're keeping Mal, the rest of them are going back to the Isle. Son, I told you need to ask if they're virgins first. It's definitely not for everybody because not everybody is willing to ironically watch 2 hours of ridiculousness. I think the reason why Descendants is something that is capable of being so ironically enjoyable is because it has the brand recognition but not the brand damage. There's a bunch of Disney characters, but this is very obviously an alternate version of those characters, so you don't have to live with the damage of something like Sleeping Beauty waiting to die on an island because she tried to kill her nephew, or Cinderella getting executed on a park bench by a bunch of F-list villains. The Descendants films are also very weirdly imagination-sparking because you can see so many cool things they could have done but didn't. On one hand, you can say it's cool to see these characters go from villainous to heroic, but it's kind of hard to say that we learned something because what these characters come away with is being bad is bad and being good is good, which is something we already knew. Hopefully. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and remember that being good is good.